Hello and welcome to today's webinar, CDP, Backup, Replicas, and Storage Snapshots. Choose the right availability. This event is brought to you in partnership with Veeam and produced by Actual Tech Media. We've got a really fun event lined up for you today. This is going to be kind of the smackdown between all these different technologies. We've got 4 expert speakers from Veeam who I'll introduce you to in just a moment. But before we do, just a few things that you should know about the event today. First off, my name is David Davis, and I'll be serving as your moderator. We want this to be an educational event, and we encourage your questions. We'll be doing a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation today, so get your questions in early. We also have a number of resources there in the Handouts tab, more information on the new Veeam version 11, so make sure that you check that out. Also, the trial of Veeam Backup and Replication is available there for you to download. Finally, I want to point out that we will be announcing the winner of our Amazon $300 gift card at the end of the live event. If you're watching this on demand, of course, the drawing has already occurred. And then this year, we started our new Best Question prize for another $50 Amazon gift card. We'll contact the prize winner of that after the event. You must still meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. And so we do that in order to help kind of shake some questions loose, if you will. If they're on your mind and you're thinking about asking them, perhaps this will help you to get that question posted in the questions tab. And with that, it's now time to kick off our introduction here of our expert presenters. I'm excited to bring on Mr. Rick Vanover, Senior Director of Technical Product Marketing at Veeam, Kirsten Stoner, Technical Analyst for Product Strategy at Veeam, Melissa Palmer, Team Lead, Senior Technologist for Product Strategy at Veeam, and Andrew, also known as AZ, Technologist, Product Strategy, and all-around CDP expert at Veeam. Let me bring the presenters on now. It's so great to have everyone on the event today. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's great to have you.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, David. We love the way you run the ship, and we're going to have some fun today. We got something different for the attendees.
Excellent. We love new and different. So with that, I'll hand it off to you, Rick. Take it away.
Well, cool. Thanks, David, and all the attendees here. We have a different type of piece of content we're scheming for you. It's about choosing the right availability, right? It's more than backup, depending on your needs and such. So as David said, I'm Rick Vanover, and I'm Senior Director of Product Strategy here at Veeam. And my thought here is that I wanted to take my team. I work with a wonderful group of technologists that help tell the story about what we do here at Veeam. And if you haven't heard of Veeam, you'll know a little bit more by the end of this session. But the thought is there's a lot of threats to your data, and we want to help you keep it available. So whether it's backup, whether it's disaster recovery, whether it's working with storage systems or keeping those tier 1 apps together, or just having a way to fail over, we're going to be able to bring you up a little bit. So let's introduce this team, and I'm going to start with Kirsten, and I apologize for the typo, Kirsten. But Kirsten, tell us a little bit about your background and stuff.
So my name's Kirsten. I'm a technical analyst on the product strategy team here at Veeam. I'm actually coming up on, I believe, almost 7 years here. So I've been working with backup and replication now for, most of my career so far. So it's been really fun and exciting to be a part of the team here. And really excited to talk to you guys more about backup and how important it is and how we should all have a backup of our data, our important files, because you never know what's going to happen and you never know when you might lose something that means a lot to you. So thanks for having me here today.
Oh, no worries, but doesn't stop there. We've got VMiss here. She's here to crack some sense into the room. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Rick. My name is Melissa Palmer. You might also know me as Veemis. I am a VMware certified design expert and a senior technologist here at Veeam. Prior to Veeam, I did a bunch of different things. First and foremost, I was a VMware administrator in a really big enterprise environment before I moved to a storage company where I did a lot with storage snapshots. I was a systems engineer, and then I moved into product engineering, where I was solutions architect, technical marketing, did a lot of different things. And then I came to Veeam, and I'm going to tell you more about that later, but I am so excited to talk to you about storage snapshots and why they're awesome.
Awesome. And speaking of that, that leaves me to introduce myself. My name's Rick Vanover. I, casually go by Rickatron, and I like to have fun with things. I like to have fun with the stories that we can tell. And I'm going to stake my claim in replication because that's what made me fall in love with Veeam. This is my 11th year here at Veeam, and all of this stuff, backups, storage snapshots, replicas, CDP, cloud, and more has become important to me because honestly, I'm just sometimes lazy. And what I mean by that is I didn't want to do important work and lose it. So the thought here is all of these technologies are important. It changed my career, made me fall in love with this stuff. And 11 years ago is when I started on this path. And, I've got over on, the left side, I just realized the ladies are going to keep me honest. But over on the right side, me and AZ are going to take a different story. But honestly, AZ is he's got the cool new toy in the room. And AZ, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Rick, thank you. You're right. I've got a new toy to advocate for, and I'm looking forward to smash your replication with my newest replication 2.0. So, anyways, somebody told me that it's been almost 9 years, and it's going to be 9 years within a month. So it's been a hell of a ride inside of Veeam, and I joined there as a part of the support team, and I moved to technical marketing team, and then to product strategy. So it's been a cool ride. And then I was dealing with all of those technologies and backups and storage snapshots and replication. But then you always have to look for something new, and then CDP is something new, and we believe this is something that brings a lot of interesting capabilities and functionality into the future. And we truly believe that data center in 2021 should have that functionality inside. So yeah, I'm going to advocate for that, and just call me AZ. And hello and welcome, everyone.
Okay, so this is the team. These are the four corners that we're all going to take, and our goal is to really convince you that each of these are a part of your strategy and why. But there's one ground rule that we have in today's content. And given there's four of us, given it Final Four time coming up with March Madness here in the States, our one rule is actually 3-2-1-1-0 rule. Now, you might have heard of the 3-2-1 rule. That was born in the digital camera, digital photography era when that dawned upon us, because that was a big change to that market at the time. And, in an analog film world, you knew to take care of your film and handle it right? But when it comes to data, digital things, a beautiful recipe, and, a couple of us on the line like to cook as well, but a beautiful recipe was born, and that's the 3-2-1 rule. But here at Veeam, we upped the game. We made it the 3-2-1-1-0 rule. So if I were to explain this to you, and, if you've seen anything from Veeam again, or in the past, we've done this before. The reason why we always do it is because it's important. And the 3-2-1-1-0 rule states you should always have 3 or more copies of your data on 2 or more different media, with one of those being off-site. Throw yourself, 10 out of 10 to nail the landing, and have one of those copies offline, air-gapped, or immutable, or what I like to call ultra-resilient. And then have 0 errors with sure backup, recovery verification, or other techniques that you can verify the integrity and the recoverability of your data. Now, if there's one motivation to take the 3-2-1-1-0 rule seriously, it's ransomware. When I talk to organizations, I love talking to organizations about how they beat ransomware, but I also pay a lot of attention when they don't beat ransomware. Consistently, when things don't end well, it's because they do not have a copy that's either offline, air-gapped, or immutable. Now, you can sometimes get lucky, but you don't want to be keeping luck as part of your recovery plan for this type of scenario. So this is a great recipe to go into this conversation with, the 4-in-1 solution. And the thought here is that this can get you out of nearly any failure scenario, and it does not require any specific technology. So that's this first set of ground rules. Everyone on the line, I think it makes sense. So let's go ahead and have Kirsten convince us why backup should be part of the strategy.
Well, if you think about backup, and also when it comes to the 3-2-1-1-1-0 rule, which is almost as long as a zip code or whatever or whatnot. Now, backup's really at the key of that strategy. So backup's really at the core of our lives, being able to create and store a copy of our data to really minimize data loss is imperative for organizations and even individuals alike. I think we've all experienced a time in our lives when we maybe have lost data that's important to us. I think about back in the day, before I had my, backup for my Apple iPhone set up, you would always, plug it into your laptop and it'd be like, it would say, do you want to sync your data to this laptop? And if you said yes, man, you lost all your pictures, everything, we're able to get any of that data back. And for me, that actually happened right when I graduated from college. So luckily, like, we don't need to see any of those pictures anyways. So I wasn't that big of a traumatizing experience, but all in all, we've all experienced when we've lost data, and this could be a result of a lot of different things, whether it's a hardware or software failure, data corruption, a human-caused event, a malicious attack like ransomware, or just accidentally deleting data. We've all experienced it, and really having a backup in place to protect from any of those accidents happening is the core to minimize that data loss. And backup really serves as the foundation to any data management strategy. When you think about recovery, you are not going to be able to recover if you don't have a backup to recover from. Making sure that your business applications and processes are available, really achieving that data availability for your employees or your customers. Backup is, at the foundation of that data availability. And then when it comes to data retention and being able to store that data off-site for long periods of time is definitely another way that backup can come in handy. But when you think about backup, you always think about recovering, and basically we're taking a backup to recover. But lately, when you think about backup, you should also think about how you can reuse that backup data for different things, like data mobility, being able to take a backup of your machine and your physical server, and maybe being able to restore it to the virtual server, or maybe moving that data to the cloud. So really, data mobility, you can use that backup data for that. Also, using it with data analytics tools, DevOps, business intelligence, disaster recovery testing. And the list goes on and on of all this data that we store in our backup files that we can reuse and get more use out of, and just be able to use it in different ways to really help our bottom line of our business. And when we think of backup today, and how diverse technology is, we really want to have a backup solution that is able to protect everything. So virtual machines, physical servers, applications all need to be protective. So we really want to have a backup solution that's going to be able to protect all of those different aspects of our environment. And a backup solution that aligns to our backup objectives. So making sure our data has that integrity, and it's not, you're not storing duplicates amounts of data. Your data is secure and it's not being altered. Being able to have those quick restores when an application goes down, or maybe you've lost a mailbox, being able to restore that mailbox with minimum downtime to really meet those service level agreements, the recovery point objectives, and the recovery time objectives that your business requires. And then lastly, as a business grows and changes, specific needs need to be addressed, especially when it comes to different size organizations. So your backup solution should be scalable. It should be able to grow with you. You shouldn't have to change a backup solution just because it no longer fits your needs. So really a backup solution should be scalable, but it also should be simple and not too complex. So this is kind of where I wanted to transition into, Veeam's backup solution. So if you're not familiar with Veeam, I hope most of you on the call are. Veeam provides a backup solution that's built for speed, that is flexible and scalable to grow with your business. It's portable, so you're really going to be able to, move your backups around. Maybe you want to, restore to a public cloud, or restore a physical server to a virtual machine. That's all doable as well, and it's really provides you that data portability that a lot of businesses are looking for today. And so with Veeam, it's easy to control and it's simple. And just because it's simple doesn't mean that it doesn't have the features that you're looking for. It's just more so, your backup doesn't need to be complex to be easy to use. Your backup doesn't need to be, your backup can be simple and also have all the features in it that you need to protect your data. So whether you're running workloads in the cloud, you're a virtualized shop, or maybe you still even have some of those physical servers on site that you need to protect. Maybe you have, a NAS or some enterprise apps. It all can be protected using one solution, and it makes it easy to, restore your familiar user interface. You don't need to have to switch between different products just to be able to protect your data. And then last but not least, you definitely want to make sure that your backup solution and your backup is secure, and that it's not going to be, malicious actors aren't going to be able to have access to that data, whether that's, just addressing the immutable backup options to store your backups in, setting in the proper protocols for your business, and different things like that. So when it comes to a backup, it's the foundation of recovery. It's a foundation to a data management strategy to keeping your business always on and available, but also keeps your data secure. So if anything were to happen, you do have that data available to you to make sure that your business stays up and running.
All right. Well, Kirsten, you made the case. I like it. Now, here's the deal. The backup is a very important capture. It's one of those first things, and you went through a lot of the different data types, so you made the case. Now, but I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's it. That's all that we need to think about, because some systems and some workloads might benefit from a little bit more types of availability requirements and options. So, Melissa, make your case while we talk about storage snapshots.
Absolutely. And I echo everything that Kirsten said. And I'm here to tell you that your storage snapshots can actually make your backups better in a number of different ways. So first, as you know, my background, when I introduced myself, is very much in storage and VMware. So I want to talk about a very hated VMware issue, and that is a VMware snapshot. It's an absolutely wonderful tool, but it can be somewhat problematic if you're working with an application that's very highly transactional, or if you leave your snapshot open too long, right? Because once we decide, okay, we don't need that snapshot anymore, we're good, we have to write all that data back to disk. So we're writing data from the snapshot back to disk while we have our normal operations, and we're basically doubling the I/O, which can, of course, lead to performance problems. Enter Veeam Backup from Storage Snapshot, which is basically the reason I decided to come to work for Veeam. What we do is we keep that VMware snapshot open very, very briefly. And while the VMware snap's open, we take a storage snapshot, which of course is instantaneous. Once we're done with the storage snapshot, we close the VMware snapshot. So the period it's open is very small and the duplicate IO is very little. Then we're actually going to do your backup from your storage snapshot. So we can do that off your primary storage array, or in select cases with some of our storage integrations, we can do it from a secondary array even. So we're even lowering the impact on production. So why is this awesome? Besides the fact that it makes the backups run much quicker and with a much lower impact to production, there's a ton of extra features we can get with backup from storage snapshots. First of all, Veeam Explorer for storage snapshots. Veeam can actually drive and categorize your storage snaps, and you can use the Veeam Explorer to get anything you want out of them, right? I've worked a lot with different storage arrays, and while they're great and snapshots are fantastic, the fact is cataloging them and using that data can be kind of problematic. Veeam Explorer for storage snapshots allows really simple administration of these snapshots, and like I said, the ability to dive in and get anything out of them. Another fantastic thing you could do with a snapshot is create an on-demand sandbox, right? An on-demand sandbox is basically a copy of your production data, right? So I use my storage snapshot to power a copy of my data, and I combine that with something called Veeam Data Labs to not only create a copy of your production data, but a copy that's fenced off and isolated from the production environment. So what does that mean? That means I can go in there and I can wreak havoc, right? I can let the new person on the team have a copy of the app and break it and do whatever they want. In the event that that critical 0 day just came out, I can go and quickly and easily test my patches to make sure they're not going to break anything. Same thing with application level upgrades if I want to make application changes, or if I'm looking to maybe provide a training environment for a bunch of new colleagues on board. Or of course, analytics for applications and for security events, right? I can do digital forensics off this copy of my data. I can do penetration testing with a copy of my data. But of course, my favorite use case for a production copy of your data is running a disaster recovery test with a copy of your data, right? Making sure that I can meet those RPOs and RTOs. So with storage snapshots, backups, replicas, and CDP, I hate to spoil it, but with any types of these types of data protection, we can integrate into Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator and basically give you a one-click DR test that is fully documented and super simple to use. So that's another beautiful thing about storage snapshots. And once again, we can schedule and drive these snapshots directly from Veeam. Now you're probably thinking, okay, this is great, but it sounds really complicated. First of all, the wonderful thing with Veeam is if you've created any type of data protection, you can create a second type. So if I've made a backup job in Veeam, a replication job is not a stretch. You're going to use the same UI, the same powerful wizard, and there's just going to be a couple minor changes. Backup from storage snapshots is so easy to use that it's on automatically. Once Veeam detects that you have a supported storage array, there's a little checkbox in the advanced settings that basically says leverage storage snapshots or backups, and that is on by default. You don't even have to do anything to take advantage of this amazing technology. Now you're probably asking, oh, what do I do to add my storage array to Veeam? That sounds complicated, blah, blah, blah. It's not. Once again, it's a really simple wizard. It's a matter of clicking, add storage array, enter your credentials, a couple other things, click, 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 and then you can browse your whole storage array and see exactly what you've got, see your snapshots, and you're good to go. Now, of course, VMware backups are not enough these days. We know there's lots of other things out there. We can integrate with a number of other Veeam technologies at the storage snapshot level. So for example, NAS backup, right? That's a big one. We can integrate with NAS backup with version 11 and even Veeam agents for physical assets. So really the integration is endless with storage snapshots, and through the use of our universal storage API, we are constantly integrating with more storage vendors. If you go to veeam.com, there is a whole list of every vendor we integrate, and chances are the storage you use is on that list. So once again, really light lift to get you started with Veeam Backup from storage snapshots and our storage integration. It's a set it and forget it type thing, right? Connect your storage array. If you're using a supported storage array, Veeam knows and you're ready to go. And it will make your experience much easier, right? When you need to go and do a restore, you can just browse right into that storage snapshot, grab what you need, and be done with it. Likewise, if you're recovering from a storage snapshot, right, we can leverage a lot of technologies under the covers to start everything up on that storage array and make it run super, super fast in the event of a restore. So I'm not telling you that a storage snapshot is a backup or better than a backup or anything like that. No. Two different things, right? I'm telling you that with your storage snapshots, you can actually integrate into the Veeam backups and as well as other Veeam features and make your life a lot simpler, a lot easier, and a lot faster.
Okay. All right. You got my attention, Melissa. I appreciate it. But you know what? And I had to clarify this from last week. The recovery technique you mentioned, Veeam Explorer for storage snapshot, that is available in the community edition. So I double checked. If you have a NetApp or a basically anything that blinks. HPE, Dell EMC, there's a lot of arrays.
Yeah, there's a ton out there.
Fujitsu, Datacore,
Lenovo, Pure Storage.
Huawei.
It's really endless.
Yeah, there's a bunch. And I don't have a favorite, but if it, chances are we integrate with it. So here's what I'm getting at. You can actually use Veeam Explorer for Storage Snapshot to drive recoveries from a storage snapshot for free. So check that out. I know Kirsten, we did the Hitchhiker's Guide, and that was one of the things you highlighted. But keep that in mind. If you're using one of these arrays we integrate with, you have a great story. So let's take a look at the context of why we're telling you this story, and we'll get to the two other halves of the final four here in a second. We really think you're at a time in the market where you, as a technologist in the world, supporting organizations and really stewarding data that people care about, we think that you should expect more from your data protection and backup. And what I mean by that is think about having capabilities that can really up the game. So we're going to talk about CDP here in a second. We are just right off of the biggest release ever here at Veeam. And, it's hard to pick a favorite child, but mine is probably the yet another reliable ransomware protection mechanism that we've put in with the ransomware resiliency in the Linux repository, and then cloud storages and CDP and, consuming Veeam as a service. There's so many ways that you can enjoy this better backup experience, but nonetheless, we'll let it go. That being said, I want to transition to the next major pillar here.
Can I introduce you, Rick?
Yeah,
Since
please do.
It's really sad to make you introduce yourself. So we've talked about backup. We've talked about storage snapshots. We have talked about how they go hand in hand, but are they really right for every workload? So Rick, I want you to talk to me about replication and convince me that maybe there is a use case in my environment for Veeam's replication.
Okay. I'm going to steal a little bit of your own thunder, because the replication engine was central to the version 1 of a product that you like.
It absolutely was.
Yes, it was. The Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator product. So replication, let me back into this by telling you my personal story. There was a time years ago where I worked as an engineer for a large global conglomerate. I did really complicated things. I really, truly did. And I did not want to lose my work. And on top of that, my customers that I would go into, like household names that you all watching this webinar would know. And I was in charge of making stuff move through the boxes and show up at your door tomorrow, shipped for free. That's the stuff I did. It was really hard to do years ago. But that being said, I really cared. It was all data driven. It actually wasn't that tough. It was, put this over here, right? It's a label and a location, right? We just would tell the robots and the cranes and the conveyors how to do it. But it was a lot of business logic, a lot of rules, and sometimes a lot of value. I mean, I've done everything from, pharmaceuticals with, very precious medicines to, probably synthetic human waste. I mean, you name it. I got everything in between. But that being said, boxes, clothing, apparel, mail, it's one of those things that I did not want to lose the business logic, the data, the stuff I cared about. So I always was really big about taking a backup. But these types of systems always needed resiliency offsite. And then I went into financial services. Then I went into a couple other segments through my career, DR was really part of it. So when I look at the lion's share of the data center, replication is part of the solution in that I need to fail over. And if I look at what Veeam's doing in the market with our replication engine, where you can have orchestrated recovery plans for a certain tier of workload, and I'm tricking you, Melissa, because there's some workloads that are going to, I am tricking you, because there are certain workloads that may be more suitable for storage replication, and there may be some workloads more suitable for what AZ is going to talk about here in a second.
That's all fine with Orchestrator.
Speaking of second, you like that pun?
I did.
Second
that
RPO.
Was a good one.
There you go. I'll be here all week, folks. Anyways, that being said, replication was really part of the solution for me in my career, and it should be for you. The notion of a failover And if you have a need for orchestrated failovers, and if you have a need for knowing that the recovery point objectives and recovery time objectives that you've built your environment to perform across can be achieved, this could be a technology that you probably need to implement. Because the thought is, nobody plans for disaster, in my opinion, correctly. We live in a world, I feel like sometimes I'm in an island of misfit toys where I've got all these ideas and nothing's ever right. But I feel like if you have data you care about, you don't want to be that way as well. So that being said, replication is part of the solution because you can quickly and easily fail over to another site. The thought is the replication engine that's provided by Veeam gives you the best combination of recovery time objective, and the recovery point objective comes in a separate conversation, but just simple failing over in a quick amount of time. Replicas are where it's at because that recovery time objective is really the boot of a system. So everything from, file servers that are virtualized, maybe application servers, you get into a long list of things that when you build DR, there's a lot of things that go into it. And what I would challenge you to think about if you're wanting to do more with disaster recovery, replication should be part of that discussion, because I think you could really put everything into 3 categories, maybe 4. It's ironic that we have 4 corners to this conversation here today. And my thought here is that some things may be suitable for what AZ is going to talk about, but I think between what Melissa spoke about, what I spoke about, you got a really big middle section of the environment, and everything should be backed up, right? So what Kirsten said is a wonderful foundation, and that paves the way for the 3-2-1 rule as well. So I have a mindset around the recovery time objective. I have a mindset around getting disaster recovery right, getting it where you want it, and getting it complete. Those are part of the reason why replication is part of the solution. But Melissa mentioned it earlier, testing things. That's also part of it. You could even just simply start with testing DR. That is a very important drill. And Melissa and I have riffed about this a lot because, all 4 of these primitive functions here are supported by Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator as well as Veeam Backup and Replication. But when it comes to disaster recovery, each of you on this line that are what I would call practicing IT professionals, we've all been there. You have a DR test, you go in like once or twice a year on a Saturday night, test something and half of it fails and you get the free pizza and you'll try again next quarter or something like that. That just is not going to cut it anymore. Well, maybe I'm dated in saying that, but I feel a lot of disaster recovery plans are not adequate. And if you want to think about a good way to encompass your disaster recovery plans, is just simply getting it all off site, whether it's backup data, whether it's using storage snapshots to move. So I'm agreeing with Kirsten and Melissa so far, but then putting in some of it into a usable state like replicas as well can be yet another way that you can build that resiliency. So I hope I've made a little bit of a case to have this other vehicle at your disposal, but I want to introduce AZ to tell me about the new toy up in the mix.
Okay, so the new toy in the mix is CDP, or how we call continuous data protection. And I'm not going to assume that everyone is familiar with this term, so let me clarify that for you. So what we mean by that is the ability to almost instantly to replicate the blocks of data that are coming to the source and we're talking about VMware systems, talking about ESXi hosts and the production location and the main data centers and some of the remote locations or additional data centers whenever you have them. And so what we mean by that is to be able to replicate the data from one site to another site and to have it in sort of a ready state. So whenever anything happens with the original location, with the production environment, you are able to fail over to the disaster recovery site. And so this is the kind of a new technology to us. And we've been working really hard to develop it and to get it delivered to the market. If you follow in Veeam, you know that we usually we take a good care of the quality of our products, and we do not hurry up. We do not set the public dates or when our products are going to be available, or we do not feel that pressure. What we are concerned about the quality of the software that we're developing, and especially in this case, because we knew that the most critical applications, the most critical services would be kind of the most popular among the CDP users. And so whenever you're thinking about adopting CDP technology or just using it in your environment, it's not going to be like all the applications that you have there, not 100%. If you find 5%, the most critical ones, tier 1, or the way how we call them, those would be the good candidates for that technology. And so because of that, we didn't want to rush into it, and we didn't want to use the dirty hacks that some of the other vendors use or used to have in the past. And so because of that, we wanted to officially to partner with VMware. We wanted to use the IO stack that they provide and a set of APIs. And we're proud that we managed to work on the technology that is done on a scalable and reliable and simple manner. And talking of that, so whenever I'm talking about CDP, and if you know the history of Veeam, you know the history of our replication technologies, and this is something Rick was already trying to explain to you, because we've been using replication since version 1 in the 2008. Because it was back in the days, it was 2-in-1 backup and replication product, and we were really proud of it. But then what we did is we took replication engine with all the underlying technologies, for example, failover to the replica or fail back from the replica to original virtual machine. And we just wanted to have this technology on steroids, if you think about that. So to allow for the lowest RPOs possible. And the RPO and the recovery point objective is something that we know, all of us, we know that you guys, you are really concerned about, because obviously it's different times than it used to be, because you are not allowed to lose that much data that you were allowed to use or to lose in the past. And though because of that, it used to be a good number of an hour, let's say, okay, if it's fine if I lose the hour of my data, or it could be even days or weeks. But then nowadays, it's pretty much going to the minutes or seconds. In some of the cases, it's just a couple of seconds that, theoretically speaking, it's fine to lose, but then you don't want even this situation to happen. And so with CDP or with Replication 2.0, it's something that we are trying to reduce the RPO and basically the value of the RPO. And whenever you're going to configure Veeam Backup Replication, you will see this as the most important step there, because it's the backup policy, it's not the backup job anymore. So we are not going to reinvent the cycle of essentially preparing the original machine for the snapshot to be taken, and then taking the snapshot itself, and then processing the data to the target site, and then removing the snapshot itself. So it's snapshot-less technology. We don't need that, because we intercept the IO traffic. That's something that is coming to the original VM, to the production one, and then we form a little bit of a cache there to accommodate all the changes, the blocks that are changed, and the values that are inside of those blocks. And then we have the infrastructure. Well, the infrastructure, we have the components that you are going to set up for this infrastructure, such as CDP proxies on the source side, on the target side, but essentially that both of them, they will help you to put the data from a production environment to the target one. And with that, you can expect that we provide a lot of intelligence there, such as guaranteed delivery, for example, because we use TCP connection with load handling and caching system. That's something that I already mentioned. And besides of that, we also envision some of the challenges that might happen there, such as low latency or the, let's say, A6i host being unavailable. And so there is a mechanism to, for example, to failover between the A6i hosts automatically whenever you have vMotion there in place on the target site, for example. And with that, I'm trying to explain that this is replication the way how you knew it, but then this is replication 2.0, and it's fine to know the ground rules. It's fine to compare what it used to be in 1.0 version with 2.0 as we speak. But then it's much more, and I cannot really see the way why you should not try it for the most critical applications in your infrastructure. The only caveat might be if you have just one A6i host and you have no disaster recovery location, and it's fine, and you don't have the lowest RPOs. It's fine if your infrastructure goes down for a week and you're not concerned about that. That's pretty much the case where you don't need CDP. For other than that, I think CDP would be a great mechanism that you could leverage. And again, to wrap up this story, we, like as always, we're developing things in simple, flexible, and reliable way. And if you think about that, all of those three terms are totally fine with CDP because it's simple. You're setting up a backup policy. You don't have even schedule it. You don't have to specify anything other than the RPOs, the recovery point objectives that you want to achieve. It's flexible because the whole infrastructure provides the additional flexibility for you. And then with all the intelligence, I already mentioned it. So it is working in a very fashionable and flexible way. And it's reliable. It took us more than we used to take. And I'm talking about the time from the early production stage to the ready to be in production. So it took us more time, but then we decided that it is ready now. It is the technology that you can benefit from, and it is production ready. Let's go. So it is the part of version 11, Veeam Backup and Replication, and I would highly recommend to use that. And probably last but not the least, I did not really have time to explain all of that. We've got some, I wouldn't even say limitations, but limitations would be, to have the A6i host to be on the similar major version, for example. So we do not expect to run 5.5 with 7.0 and, to be working like that. But then it would be rather requirements for this technology to be available. And we also have the notion of, for example, crash consistent snapshots versus application consistent snapshots. Application consistency, this is one of the other really important technologies for us, because we want to make sure that whenever you need to recover something, you have a choice. And then application consistency, especially for those applications where you have the databases and something that's, highly transactional ones, that is going to be there. So with that, I really hope that I managed to convince you that it is a great technology with interesting scenarios and challenges, and I would definitely recommend you to try this one. So back to you, Rick.
Yeah, I think you made the case here, AZ. This is that really good capability set for this, best of RTO and RPO world. So, when we put all this together, if you're in the hybrid cloud or if you're on premises and in the public cloud, you need each of these different types of recoveries. And I'm going to call it out loud, breaking all the rules. David's going to never let me come back. But Seema asked a really good question about what are the different types of recovery between snapshots. But you might have a snapshot from a day ago, but then you have something from 3 months ago that you might need to recover, or you're dealing with, some sort of corruption on the near line. That's where I think the combination is so important. You might need to go to backups deep in the archive. You might need to go to a storage snapshot. You could even, especially with Veeam, a replication, a regular replication, you can actually drive recovery of files from your DR, right? It just like all the way down the line. You have so many different ways to be available. And that's really the whole spirit of where we are here with Veeam. If you haven't heard about Veeam Backup and Replication, which powers Veeam availability suite and Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator. They're building blocks. And I know that we talk about the orchestration, we talk about the backup, but the reality is some organizations are fine with just backup and replication, which brings these 4 capabilities. But if you need those finer points, like the orchestration, the validation that your DR works, the automated reporting that your DR works, the automated reporting that your RTOs and RTOs are going to be achieved on day 1 and day 138. Why day 138? Because we've all been there. You implement something today, and then you come back in a couple of months, and oh, we've been dealing with 3 to 8% change rate every day. And now our backup windows don't fit and our recovery windows don't fit. This is a problem that Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator will catch for you. So all the way down the line, we're fresh off this major, massive release, 200 plus new and improved enhancements, right? I guarantee you, if you haven't started to really think about the criticality of your data when it comes to backup and replication, you really should take a look at Veeam. And I have 2 resources, and they're both in the handout section here, as well as a few others. You know, a trial. You can go right here to this link and you can have it in your hand. You can also go to the Upgrade Center. One of the things that we're trying to do on the product team is just kind of aggregate all of the different resources you might need. What's new documents, I've been checking with tech support, like how's it going, that type of stuff. And also, where do you address really the 2 biggest things that go with a major release? It's funny because we're on version 11. This is my 11th year at Veeam. They've done it just for me. I feel very flattered about that. But the reality is there are 2 things that happen when a major release happens at Veeam. There's like common things that come up. The number 1 and number 2 most common things that usually go on a major release is 1, how do I upgrade? Well, there you go. I got the Upgrade Center. I've made a resource that completely walks you through everything you need. Number 2, how do we upgrade our license? Well, we solve that problem too. One of the things Veeam's done over the last couple of years is really assess the market. When you think about hybrid cloud and you think about the workloads you have, we introduced this new construct called the universal license. And the universal is really awesome. For one, it includes the CDP engine that AZ spoke about. Includes the CDP engine, no additional cost. Wow. How many times have you had to entertain that type of capability and needed another tool that's very complex? We sorted that out. Anyways, that's a quick overview of all these different disciplines of why we think CDP, backups, replicas, and storage snapshots should be part of your availability strategy, and Veeam Backup and Replication can help you with that. So David, I'm going to turn it back over to you. We can popcorn out some questions, or we can go through your lucky draw. I just want to know if I'm going to win, but I don't think I'm able to.
Best of luck to you next time, Rick. This is going to go to one lucky audience member. We've got a lot of hundreds of folks from across the United States and around the world on today. So I do want to announce the winner of our $300 gift card that's going to Josh Hale from Oregon. Congratulations. Rick, do we have any other questions that we haven't yet covered electronically? I know we've been answering those throughout the event. Anything else we need to cover?
Well, I'm just going to shout out to Mr. Ken. Hey, Ken says that he likes Veeam because it can restore the physical servers, virtual servers, and bare metal very smoothly. I appreciate the validation there, Ken. And for those of you on the line here, that's great feedback from Ken. I'll pick up one from Mr. Patel, who says, "What's the backup method for RDMs?" And AZ answered this. Here's the deal. You can use the agents inside of that. That's a great. Same thing with InGas SCSI. I'll admit, deploying RDMs is kind of like smoking. It's not a good time to start doing it. Okay, but I think you can use the agents. There is limited support for physical mode. And AZ, do you want to talk a little bit about the answer you typed in also?
Yeah, because I asked the question whether it's a physical RDM or the virtual RDM, and then knowing that it's a virtual RDM, so CDP also supports that. It's actually one of the interesting observations that I found out about the virtual RDM being supported. Mm-hmm.
So does backup and replication, but it doesn't support change block tracking. But CDP sits in the IO path, so it can use the filter, but the agent can sit inside. And, so you can do a backup. I mean, there's so many ways to be available. I've spoken to a lot of people that have kind of workloads you might stub your toe on, okay? Really important sharp edges in the data center. And they really care about that. I've seen plenty of people, Patel, install Veeam Agent inside of the guest and back it up with BNR just because they really, really don't want to lose any data. And you could also use CDP. So you could be triple available that way. And the beautiful thing about the Veeam Universal Agent is like some of those different backups give you different restore options, but you're not going to incur additional Veeam costs the way the universal license rolls. So all the way down the line, you can have awesome. Let's see, what else do we have in here, David? Anything else you want to pull out, or Melissa or Kirsten, anything you want to riff on about?
Yeah, absolutely. Kirsten and I would be remiss if we didn't tell you about all these great things. If you really want advanced analytics to see, how long do my jobs take? What VMs are protected and unprotected? What VMs in the cloud are protected and unprotected? How does my VMware environment look at a whole? Don't forget to get a 30-day free trial of Veeam One, right? Because Veeam One also integrates with all 4 of these features. So you can see your backup jobs, your replication jobs, your CDP jobs, pretty much everything in that Veeam One environment, and then do some really cool things around alarm reports and even automatic actions. If something happens in my environment, I want Veeam One to automatically perform a task for me. So there's a lot of great things you can do with that as well. 30-day free trial, of course.
And you can click that on the handout section. In fact, there's a little saying about Veeam One that someone I know likes to say. It goes something like, I forget what she used to say, but she used to say, I guarantee you Veeam One will tell you something about your environment that you didn't know, but you need to fix.
I logged in the other day and it let me know that I actually had a snapshot from February on my Veeam disaster recovery orchestrator server. And I don't even remember taking that snapshot, but Veeam One was nice enough to let me know that, hey, you need to do something here. So I automatically had it get rid of that snapshot for me.
Well, I have one from December, so you're doing better than me. So, but friends, those are the types of things you can catch. So let's I guess take one more look. Kirsten or AZ, anything stick out?
Yeah, well, probably to answer the question from John, with CDP, what happens in ransomware attack? And I know we were probably kind of opening the kind of worms in here, talking about transition into ransomware. But then essentially, this is where CDP is not really shining, because everything that will happen with production is going to be replicated automatically to the targeted disaster recovery site. And this is where you would have to need to use the hybrid approach by leveraging the probably backups or replication or even storage snapshot, because it's just a different level of security that you're using there, using different accounts and using different sites. And with backups, I know, Rick, you are really passionate about it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about immutability in Veeam Backup and Replication?
Yeah, there are many ways to be resilient against ransomware. And John, I'm just going to see if I can hit it on the chat here. I'm going to hit you up with the short URL, but it's veam.am/ransomware series papers. That short URL, and if you just go to the Veeam site, you'll eventually get the information on ransomware. I still think that's a classic example, John, of where you need one or more of these to fit our ground rule that we started with, the 3-2-1 rule, with one of those being offsite on the 3-2-1-1-0 rule, offline, immutable, or air gapped. Those are the specimens. And, if you think about the way the orchestration engine can play nice with these types of threats in regards to getting them resolved quickly, wouldn't it be nice if you had a predefined recovery plan that could restore everything from backups or invoke your DR? That would be
wonderful, Rick.
Wouldn't it be a great day if that existed?
Great.
Anyways, actually look for more on that, John, because I'm going to up the game. I wanted a couple more things to be baked into what we call VEDRO, Veeam Disaster Recovery Orchestrator. We wanted to bake in a few more things, but for the 2021 cycle, actually, probably I have an internal stretch goal of end of April. I'm going to have the paper updated. And I'll give a sneak peek because David's my friend. The theme is "This is the way." That's how we're going to do it.
I like it.
Yeah. So we're gonna up the game there. But I hope everyone learned a little bit. We tried a different product here, David, a different type of format. I hope it works for your audience, and certainly was a pleasure seeing you. You know, for the attendees, David and I go way back. He is good people. I really enjoy being with him.
I always appreciate that, Rick, and I really appreciated this new format. It was fun. It was entertaining. I love the kind of SmackDown Final Four aspect of it. So really kudos to you and the entire team here today on this excellent presentation. Thank you so much, Rick, AZ, Kirsten, and Melissa. Great presentation. Thanks for being on.
Thanks.
And thank you, of course, to everyone out there for joining the webinar. Don't forget to download the free trials of Veeam 1 and Veeam Backup and Replication there in the Handouts tab. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day.